And now, last but not least, really the colleague who is the most important in this entire process, and that's representing the National Regulatory Authority. We have one of our colleagues who I think traveled probably further than most people who came to this meeting, and that's William Wekwete from the Medicines Control Authority of Zimbabwe, who's going to talk to you about this whole process from the perspective of a national regulatory authority. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's a great honor for me to be here, and I have also learned a lot about what's happening in TB. That's the outline of the presentation, but basically it will be complementing what has already been said by the earlier presenters. But now it's coming from the perspective of a regulator from a resource-limited, low-middle-income country. I try to define collaboration there as working jointly with others or together, cooperating with an agent or instrumentality which is not immediately connected. So here, what I'm saying there is EU works alone, FDA, they work for the people who are in their jurisdictions. But now we have to collaborate for some reasons. And why collaborate? It is very essential to collaborate because the world is facing global health challenges. There is unprecedented movement of people, commodities, which are used by pathogens to colonize the world. There's also nowhere in the world from which we are remote and no one from whom we are disconnected. Here we are talking about resistant TB spreading in populations, and it can actually spread from wherever it is. And it ignores borders, it ignores oceans. Again, why collaborate again? So from the perspective of the regulator, we have limited resources. The earlier presenters have indicated that. Therefore, if we combine our collective intellect, working together, we are able to achieve more. This was quite an experience for us. When we started evaluating dossiers together, even if you think you are good on your own, when you involve other people, you will see some perspectives which were in your blind spot. We avoid duplication of effort, we avoid unnecessary delays. Standardization of regulatory requirements is also a big opportunity from the collaborative approaches. Okay. So as a regulator, there is a unique challenge which we face. We are trying to balance two diametrically opposite ends. One is access, the other one is market control. There are also economic industrial interests. So achieving that balance, the manufacturer wants access, they want quick market approval, but as a regulator you have to balance both. And it is difficult. It becomes easier if people work as a team. ZaZiBoNa collaboration, you have already heard about ZaZiBoNa. There are 4 countries, Zambia, Zimbabwe, Botswana, and Namibia. It's a very peculiar name. People want to see things which are alphabetical. But why did we call it ZaZiBoNa when there is a B in the middle? There is a reason to that. If you look at ZaZiBoNa in one of our local languages, it means looking forward to the future. That's why we put that in that sequence. And it is a cost-efficient, sustainable model for joint regulatory activities. To date, we have reviewed 150 products together, and we have a database of those evaluation reports. We have conducted 5 regulatory inspections, and we also have training, which is not only open to the 4 active members. The 4 active members are the ones we have the capacity to evaluate. There is a region with 14 member states, some of whom have no capacity to evaluate, but when we do some training, they are also able to attend the training. And over and above that, the evaluation reports that we produce are available for them to refer to if they want to check what we have done. The foundations of collaboration, there are different parties there. There is the applicant, there is the SRA, there are the NRA. We all have different needs, and we also have different responsibilities. How can we balance that? So when we look at the applicant, they want market access, they are concerned about confidentiality and IP rights. If we look at the NRA, we have high workloads, and for the regulator, the policymakers are always complaining about backlog. So there is a queue of applications, limited capacity, patient safety is the focus of the regulator, and it is a non-delegable duty. If something has been approved in Europe and it's going to be used in Zimbabwe, if anything happens, the policymakers in Zimbabwe will be asking the regulator. So you have to check that the product will be as safe as elsewhere it has been approved. I have said who pick you, the better resourced. It does use the resources from the country, the human capital from the regulatory bodies. So if we collaborate there, and as already indicated, there has to be consensus. It's a mutual process. I think all the presenters have said that voluntary participation, respect of the rights of others. As I said, our focuses are different, but if we now respect the interests of others, then we are able to work together. And we have to focus on the problem. We say there are global health challenges here, and that has to be the focus. Now we have to go beyond the normal working mode that we have been doing. This has already been mentioned that the applicant is to voluntarily agree that their evaluation reports can be shared. And also, there has to be commitment that in participating in the collaborative procedure, timelines are going to be respected. And also the IP rights that I've talked about. The companies have to be, there has to be a guarantee that the reports, if they are made available, they will be used for the intended purposes only. Our experience with SRA approved products, ZaZiBoNa received 2 sets of SRA approved products. It's good that the company has mentioned the names already. Otherwise, I'll be in trouble here. Okay, so Etravarin and Darunavir, these are the ones that we have worked on. The parties involved is EU. These products were already approved by EU, and then WHO is there as a facilitator, as has been reported. The applicants have agreed for reports to be shared from the SRA and the Resource Limited NRA, and then there's the ZaZiBoNa there. So the format, it's a standardized CTD format that we require. Of course, there was a comment to say that there has to be some adaptations that have to be made. And then the NRA is shared work to assess the products, and applicants got consolidated list of queries. Lessons learned, collaborative procedure is applicable to non-pre-qualified SRA products as it is to who pre-qualified. As the previous presenters have already indicated, there has been some passive collaboration between Resource Limited SRAs and the stringent regulatory authorities. The information that has been shared could be improved, including annexes as Messi has indicated where necessary. One unique thing, if you look at the regulators in the Resource Limited NRAs, our strength on chemistry, manufacturing, and control evaluation is a bit high because we deal mostly with generic products. But when it comes to clinical review, we may need capacitation. So when we receive information which has been approved by the SRA, there also has to be some adaptation, and I'll explain the adaptation. So the challenges that can occur when data which has been generated in other regions is being applied to our region. The possible differences could be differences in demographics, and also if we look at the genotypic differences in pharmacokinetic, pharmacodynamics of the drug in the populations. Yes, some studies could have been multi-center, included a few black patients, participants, I mean to say. But how representative would be that? And then genotypic differences in the pathogens themselves. And in our region, we have comorbidities, HIV, TB, malaria, cardiovascular, lifestyle diseases are also being important. So the people are already taking some medicines. If the study was done in a controlled population where people were not taking most of those concomitant medication, then we would have questions as to how this data will apply to our setting. Ability of pharmacovigilance to pick clinically significant ADRs and post-marketing. I think in the morning we were talking about predictive studies that could be done, and phase 3 can be done, but then you realize that there are areas which will need more information as the product is being used. There I have digressed a bit, but I'm giving some pertinent information. In our setting, efavirenz is now coming into the first line, and we are seeing a very significant signal on gynecomastia. Stavudine, peripheral neuropathy became a big problem when the product was being widely used. I've talked about comorbidities and drug interactions, TB, ARVs. So these are some of the things. Yes, the product has been approved elsewhere, but if these issues are not addressed, then as regulators will be asking further questions. But I'm glad that the previous presenters have already indicated that bridging studies will be required, and if they address some of those common things, then it will help in quicker registration. Recommendations is we recommend that all the innovator companies who are interested in sharing information with us, having this collaborative procedure where there is a quicker approval of products, they should share relevant information. I'm not implying that we have received irrelevant information, but I think the practices are different. In Europe, maybe there will be a sequence of assessments that have been done, and then there is the final. So if we get the final, maybe our questions want to know something which had happened at the first review or something like that. That information must be made available upon request. Contextual interpretation of data. As I said, our strength is on CMC. So if there is new clinical information or even approaches, perhaps a clinical expert report might help us in approving the product. I'm also mentioning that we may need facilitated regional workshops to clarify issues for quick regulatory decision. I'm very privileged to be here as a regulator, because now I'm very excited about those predictive models that we were talking about, the hollow fiber, something. Yeah, it's really blue sky thinking. But if that came into a dossier without you being part of this meeting, you would read that section and maybe leave the dossier alone, or you start jotting questions. So it's very important to share these new approaches so that the regulator is prepared. I think there was discussion of early engagement of the regulators, so that will help. Because we have regional integration activities and joint evaluation sessions that are happening, it will help if occasionally the assessors from the developed world could, by invitation, come and present on the new approaches to development of some of these products. And there is a potential for indirect coordination, which has already been mentioned by my colleagues. So from our region, we look towards a common future, and we believe that now we need even a common collaboration between the different regions. Thank you.